Between me, my friends' experiences, we dated a nice chunk of men, nice sample size, right? And if this is all they have to offer, I'm gonna be single forever. Like, what? What is up, love? If you are new here, welcome to Darkgirlscantoo, where we talk all things beauty, introspection, and lifestyle. If you are returning, welcome back, girl. It's always good to have you here. Today's video is special because we will be talking about being in love. We'll be talking about love in the general sense, yes, but more specifically, we'll be talking about falling in love again, how our past affects our present, and the proper mindset to have when jumping into something new. Before we get into this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment after you've watched the entire video, letting me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this tutorial. All right, so of course we always start with prepping and priming our face, but as you can tell today, my edges are not done. So we're really gonna be starting from scratch. So I don't know about you guys, but I use the 24-hour edge tamer. This is what it looks like. And honestly, this is the only thing that holds my edges down. But I actually haven't been looking for any new like edge products in a really long time. So if you guys have any suggestions for like 4C hair, definitely let your girl know, because I mean, even with this, I have to like lay my edges down for at least 30 minutes. But yeah, your girl was not blessed with super thick and full edges. I'm super jealous of the girls that do have that. So I can't really do everything that I be wanting to do with my edges, but what I have will do. All I do is I always do like this little swoop action right here. And then I just kind of brush these back and lay them down like that. See, simple, easy. I guess there's also a benefit to not having super thick and long edges because you can do them really quickly. It doesn't have to be a whole thing, like a whole routine. And then I just do the same thing on this side, really. My braids are getting a little bit out of hand because I have been sleeping without my bonnet. I know better, but I just, you know how it is. Sometimes you just get a little bit lazy and you don't feel like reaching for that bonnet when it's time to go to bed after you've already ate. It's just, yeah, I normally do it to like put the edge control on till about here, but for the video, let me make sure my entire part looks right. But yes, quick, easy, and simple. Now let's go ahead and get into this makeup. You guys already know the drill. It's time to prep and prime. Today I'm going to be using the same primer that I used in the last video, and I'm going to be using my Dr. Gross moisturizer. It's always good to have some consistency with the skin, so I've been really trying to stick with my regimen as far as like my face routine goes. So brows are done. I decided to go for something a little bit more fluffy today. So at first I wanted to do like another like soft glam look, but maybe try to incorporate like some more like oranges, something that like matches my skin tone really well. But I think I want to amp it up a bit. I don't know like what I want to do exactly, but I have a little bit of direction, so just follow me. But yes, as we go ahead and get into the face, we're also going to jump into the very first question, so let's do it. So as I talk, I've jotted down some notes. So if you see me look over, I'm probably looking at my computer. I'm trying to like learn how to follow a script without getting too off topic, because once I start talking, it's just, but yes, before I get into it, I am using my Clinique foundation, which I am running out of, and I need some new suggestions. I don't want to come on here using the same foundation every single time. I have the ones that I love, but I need some really new, really great ones. So I was thinking about trying NARS, but I know that it can be a little pricey. I'm not sure how much it costs, but I really want to try NARS, so I might do that next. But definitely, if you have any suggestions, comment down below and tell me what your girl should try, because Clinique is nice and it's great, but I can always come back to this. I think it's time to switch it up a little bit. But anyways, if you guys have been following me, and watching my vlogs, you guys know that I am in a new relationship. But I think before I met him, I was just in a completely different headspace, if I'm being totally honest. I think, like, for me, when I was, after my long-term relationship in high school, I think that I was more so into like figuring out myself, but then like just focusing on just casual, you know, relationships, right? And so for the 4 years that I was in college, I think that that was my main focus, just because I wanted to learn more about myself. I didn't really want to like invest in creating something else with like somebody else, if that makes sense. So I think I got really accustomed to doing the whole casual thing, and it was fun, trust me. College was a good freaking time. Like I really did the fool in college. I'm not gonna lie, your girl was outside, period. But I think I was focused on, like I said, doing something a little bit more casual. But after those 4 years of being in college and doing that, I began to feel unfulfilled. Like I felt myself making this transition to like wanting more. And like I said, this took a long time. Like it was 4 years plus maybe like a year and a half. Like the year that I was at home when the pandemic hit, and then, you know, part of the time that I was here in Houston. I was like, okay, I'm ready to live it up, have a good time, whatever. And I wasn't really interested in investing into something serious. But like as I matured and as I got older, I felt myself craving something less shallow. And I just really wanted to connect with somebody on a deeper level. Now, I wasn't sure if that meant that I wanted a boyfriend or what. I think I was kind of in denial a little bit. Like, it's like I wanted a boyfriend, but I didn't. Like, and I think that my problem was, and maybe some of you guys deal with this too, is my problem was associating a relationship, being in a relationship, with giving up things. So sacrifice. So I associated being in a relationship with giving up my free time, giving up, you know, the chance to like be able to party with my friends and, you know, other things. But what I've learned as I've gotten older is that that is not the truth. That is so far from the truth. If your relationship takes you away from the things that matter to you the most, then it's not for you and it's not serving you. You know what I mean? And I'll be using my infallible white concealer that I use in the color 325. It's in the color Eggshell. But yeah, so I was in a place of just wanting to explore something deeper and wanting a deeper connection with somebody, right? I think too, I was suffering a little bit from just being disappointed so many times. Of course, I said that I was doing like the casual thing before I, you know, ended up finding or getting into my relationship. But like sometimes I would kind of try to let people in and like try to actually date. But I felt myself just consistently being like disappointed with just how people behaved, especially the men. And I think that's because I wasn't really going for the BS. Like I wasn't just taking anything. And so whenever something would happen, I would just end up disappointed. Like whenever I would start to like somebody, something would go left, something would go wrong. And then that would be the end of that. Because I don't know if this is a toxic thing or unhealthy, somebody tell me, but like you got one time. You got one time with me. You have one time to hurt my feelings or make me feel like, you know, you're not as into me as I'm into you, and then we're done. Like I don't have time to play games. I've never been that girl. So right now, guys, I'm just taking my concealer brush and I am about to blend out all this concealer. What I normally do is blend the darker concealer at the bottom first and sort of blend the white, but not so much. And then I let that dry while I am putting on and blending out my contour. So, but yes, I think I was also in a state of just trying to figure out like more about myself and then more about what I had to offer. Like if a relationship was what I wanted, I needed to figure out what I wanted exactly, like to the T, and that's super important so that you can communicate that to your potential partner, right? I was in the process of figuring out exactly what I wanted out of a relationship if I was to get into one. You know, what your boundaries are, what your deal breakers are, and like I said, what does Ariane bring to the table? What do I have to offer? What kind of partner am I? Because once you figure that out, it's easy to then figure out what kind of partner you want, because you can't expect for your partner to be this amazing person and offer all these great things if you don't yourself, right? And I think the last thing was that I just really wanted to go into my next situation with a completely clean slate. I didn't want to bring any baggage or any hurt or any damage into my next situation. I am about to contour. Of course, I'm using my Revolution stick. Now, I want some other recommendations for my foundation and my concealer, but I think I'm gonna keep my concealer the same. I think I'm gonna keep my contour the same. I'm not gonna lie to you, because this is just such the like perfect contour that like I can't see myself using anything else. I'm really attached to this, guys. Like, it's affordable, it's cheap. I don't think it's more than like $12, and it's so freaking good. It makes my makeup look amazing. But maybe that's my problem. I don't know. I need to switch it up. I am so attached to this. But anyways, you guys already know the drill. We're gonna contour around that concealer, shaping our foreheads, and then around that chin. You guys know I love a good contour. Favorite part of the routine, hands down, just because it brings so much warmth and color back into your face. And FYI, this is not the same brush. I have a concealer brush and a contour brush. I just labeled them so that I don't get them mixed up. So I would say that, if I'm being totally honest, I would say that I was afraid of like creating this really great connection with someone, but then losing it because that has literally been my experience. Like, whenever, like I said before, I had these casual situations, but whenever I would like actually try to kind of, you know, give myself a little bit to somebody and like, you know, try and see where things went, things would be like going okay at first, and then all of a sudden they would take this really sharp turn, and I'm like, whoa, like what just happened? Is it me? Is it them? Like, you know, when things go left or somebody breaks up with you or like whatever, you're kind of like, okay, what did I do wrong, you know? And so I think that I was just afraid. I was traumatized, and I didn't want to go through the process of learning to really care about somebody and then losing them. You know what I mean? And I think that that also stems from like daddy issues and like other things. But I think because that had happened to me a couple of times, I was just like, I'd rather not. And so that, I will say, did make me like really afraid to try. Really afraid to try. But what I've learned is, and this is really golden advice. What I've learned is, like, when things go wrong, if you feel like it wasn't your fault and you've really like thought through it like thoroughly, and you felt like what just happened like wasn't under your control, or like, you know, whatever, sometimes you have to understand that like it's not always you. Like, sometimes people are like dealing with first of all, everybody's dealing with their own trauma, right? And sometimes it's not you. Sometimes they're dealing with whatever problems they have, or sometimes they think they don't deserve you. They think that they're not good enough for you or deserving of you or whatever, and so then they self-sabotage. But you shouldn't take that as, oh, something's wrong with me, I need to try and fix me. I mean, you should examine that always, right? But like, that's not always what it is. And I've learned that, like, because I knew I'm a great person, I'm a great woman, I'm a great partner, you know, I have a lot to offer. So if somebody screws me over, I think I'm in a place where it's like, okay, they're lost. And so when you think about it like that, you just feel so much better when things end, because it's like, okay, I was nothing but good to you, so bye. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You know? I also think that like those experiences definitely made me question my worthiness as well. Like, was I worthy of the love that I so wanted? You know what I mean? But after doing the work and like thinking about all the things that I do in a relationship, all of the things that I give in a relationship, it's like, yes, you definitely deserve everything that you want. Like, you deserve everything that you give. You deserve everything that you give in a relationship. And if you're not getting that, to hell with them. Don't nobody have time to waste. And people nowadays are just, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know the word that I want to use. But like I said, thinking about what I bring to the table definitely helped me answer that question. Am I worthy? So that's why that's super important. Child, now this is when it gets really real. Like, this is something, and you can ask my friends, like, this is something I contemplated a lot. Like, am I going to be single forever? And I think I was, just based off of my past situations, I was like, okay, I've dated, I'm not gonna say a lot, but I've dated enough men to know, like, okay, so this is what men are like. Like, that's the conclusion that I came up with. Like, between me, my friends' experiences, we've dated a nice, you know, chunk of men. We've dated a nice sample size, right? And if this is all they have to offer, I'm gonna be single forever. Like, what? I just did not know what the future held for me, if I'm being honest. And so I had kind of convinced myself that, like, at 24, which is so sad, but yeah, no, I shouldn't be questioning at 24 if I'm gonna be single forever. So you men, you guys really have a lot of work to do, seriously. But yes, like, I really started to feel like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just gonna be single forever. Like, because I guess my whole thing is, like, I don't need anybody to help me do bad. I don't need anybody to help make, you know, my nerves bad, to get on my nerves, to make me upset, make me angry. I can do bad by myself. Like, that's a real thing. I don't need nobody in my life. If you aren't going to add and make it better, why are you here? Why are you here? Seriously. Okay, so our concealer should have dried enough at this point. So, because I was just on the phone for like 30 minutes. But yes, let's try and blend this out. Hopefully it isn't dried down too much. And then we'll continue on with our face. So I don't know. I really came up with some really good questions. But I think for me, before my relationship now, I think I was kind of one foot in, one foot out, like always looking over my shoulder, because I was trying to, like, give my all and go into a relationship with, like, you know, an open heart, open mind, open everything. But it was hard for me because I think I hadn't completely worked through all of my trauma. And it was like, no matter how hard I tried to trust, I still was like looking over my shoulder and trying to make sure that whoever I was with at the time wasn't gonna hurt me, or, like, you know, whatever, right? It just kind of felt like I was trying to trust, but I wasn't really doing a great job at it, because it's like, you're not being completely trusting if you are always looking over your shoulder and second guessing whether that person is being honest with you or not. You know what I mean? And that's what you don't want. You seriously don't want that. And it's not only, like, unhealthy to do that, but, like, it just brings you so much stress in the long run. Like, seriously, it'll be more beneficial if you just go into it open-hearted and just trusting until proven otherwise, honestly. I think too, like, before I got into my current situation, I moved, like, in a really weird way. Like, I was really protective over my heart, and, like, you could tell that my guard was up. And I think now I've done a really good job of, like, just putting that guard down and just being like, okay, I'm here to love, I'm here to give you me, and if you for whatever reason can't accept or appreciate or love that, then you can't be here, unfortunately, and you have to go, you know? So sometimes I over contour. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going over the spots that I concealed and just making sure that they're still visible. This is what we have so far. I might kind of go through and contour a little bit more just to bring that back in, but you just want a really great balance when it comes to your base. Okay, so now it is time to powder, and this is another thing that I'm not really willing to change. I love my Anastasia Beverly Hills powder, ABH powder. I need to start saying that. But yes, I use the color Deep Peach. And you know what, because I was using that whiter concealer, I was trying to, like, use the translucent powder, but honestly it doesn't work as well as, like, the colored powders or whatever. And the reason why I was trying to use the translucent is because, you know, sometimes when you have a bunch of colors on your eye, you don't necessarily need, like, the the deeper oranges and gold undertones, because then it becomes overwhelming and too much, especially on camera. But yeah, no, I think this definitely works better. So this is my suggestion. Probably going to spend another $40–50 getting another one once I run out, because I'm already almost out. So I think that now, like, my love is completely different. I love in such a different way, and I think that's because I've shifted my mindset to believe that you know, if things didn't work out, they probably didn't work out for a reason. And you know, every relationship that you have in your life isn't meant to like stick around long term. Some things are meant to be in your life to teach you a lesson, and I think recognizing that made me feel so much better about some of my failed relationships, right? And I also think that, like, believing that after those lessons, you know, things will work out how they are supposed to. And so when you like shift and you have that kind of mindset and think like that, I think you'll feel so much better about the relationships that you have, and you'll feel it'll be so much easier to heal and move on from things that didn't work out the way that you thought they would. But as far as like unlearning things, I will say that like I've said before, trusting until proven otherwise, right? And I will say listening to understand was a huge thing. In my last relationship, I will say that, like, I did try to do that, but I wasn't completely doing that. I feel like I was trying to listen, but I was also trying to get my point across, right? And I think that's another reason why, like, things didn't work out with us. And for the people who, you know me personally, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But like, and not to say that I'm like perfect and I know everything, but I don't know, I couldn't get out of that old cycle of making sure that this person heard and understood what I was saying, and that I made it very clear to them, and whatever else. Like, when you're in a relationship, that kind of stuff is not as important. It's important, but it's also just as important to make sure that you understand and hear out your partner. You know what I mean? And I wasn't completely doing that, if I'm being honest. Because it's like, when you're in a relationship, you know, of course you're going to have problems, right? But like, some things can be solved by literally just listening to your partner and understanding their perspective, because they might be coming from a completely different space. And a lot of times we have, you know, disagreements because of just miscommunication, or us just not understanding why, you know, our partner acted in this way, or you know whatever. So if you just really just sit down and listen and communicate, the disagreements and the arguments just become easier to get through, if that makes sense. But I also have a really good example for that. So with my current partner, Moses, right? So this was like maybe the second time that like we had ever really gotten into an argument. And this wasn't very early on, because we don't argue. Like, whenever we feel a way about something or are sad about something, we just literally get on the phone and call each other and be like, hey babe, like, you said this earlier and it kind of made me feel this way, like, what do you think about that, like, da 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 da. And it never really turns into an argument, right? But there was this one time in particular, I was in my feelings. I will admit it, I was in my feelings. And I don't remember what the situation was, but I was sad, and he came over and he said something to me, because I don't think at that point he knew that something was wrong, right? And he realized after he said something to me, like, okay, maybe she's not, really happy with me right now. So instead of what I'm used to, somebody just saying like, okay, you good? Like, what's wrong with you? He was like, actually, no, he didn't say anything. He just gave me my space, which was really weird. I think he like got a blanket and kind of sat on the floor for a little bit and just there was nothing. And I was like that made me get an even bigger attitude, because I'm like, okay, you're not gonna ask me what's wrong. Like, so I think like I said, I was getting more upset as I was laying there trying to figure out why he's not asking me what's wrong with me, right? When communication queen, I'm acting like I just know everything about communication. It would have just been smarter for me to be like, hey, you made me upset, right? But we're not perfect, right? Sometimes we have to check ourselves and take a step back and be like, okay, I could have communicated better here, right? So he's laying on the floor, I'm on the bed. Within like 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, Clearly he doesn't know. So let me get out of my head, get out of my feelings, and just let this man know, like, okay, my feelings are hurt, right? So I get up and I'm like, you didn't ask me what was wrong with me. Like, I didn't say that clearly, but basically in so many words, like, okay, what's going on with you? Like, why didn't you ask? Why aren't you asking me what's wrong with me? You can clearly see I have an attitude. And so just me saying that, like, he was just super apologetic. He came over onto the bed, he got face to face with me and was just like, okay, well, whatever I did earlier to like make you upset, because I wasn't sure if you were upset, but whatever I did earlier, I apologize for that. And I apologize for not, you know, making you feel like I care about what's actually wrong with you. I'm sorry I keep starting and stopping. I'm the worst multitasker in the world. But yes, he's like, you know, if I'm being honest, you know, in my past relationships, whenever we had problems or whenever, you know, my partner was upset, I really just gave them the space and just kind of separated myself, because if I'm being honest, I just really didn't care all that much. And I think that was because, you know, he was in relationships that like he really didn't think was for him, or they weren't like super healthy. And so a lot of times he would just disconnect, and like him explaining that to me made so much more sense. It made me feel better, because at first I was like, oh, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't care when I'm upset. But that's not true. And because of the communication, I was able to figure that out and find that out for myself, and that made me feel so much better. And so it was easier for me to forgive, talk about that, let him know what I needed moving forward. And it was really just that simple. Communication is key. I be telling people, like, just say what it is, like, be honest. So right now I am about to powder my nose in the middle and on both sides, and then I'm gonna go in with my contour powder. That's another thing that I'm not so willing to change, but I don't know, I'm open to the bronzer. So if you guys have any suggestions, just let me know. So another thing that like I felt myself unlearning was, and I don't think that this is like necessarily about the way that I love, but just how I engage in general. Like if I plan on having something with somebody, I think that I've learned to like stop accepting toxic behaviors. And I feel a way about this because nowadays, especially like on social media, I see that like a lot of people think that stuff is cute. And while it may be for some of y'all, it's not for me. It's never been for me. I'm not here for the toxicity, the back and forth, the mind games. I'm grown. I don't have time for that. So maybe that's a thing with like younger people. And in that case, I can totally understand, because maybe in high school or whatever, I might have been for the BS, but I'm not now. But yes, like I think what's most important is like recognizing what, you know, what is toxic to you, what is considered to be toxic behaviors, and then just kind of going from there. So like, for example, with the last couple of situations that I've had, I might have been in a situation where I had gotten stood up, or I might have been texting somebody, or like during a day's time, I would text somebody a couple of times during the morning and then wouldn't hear from them for a majority of the day. And then during the nighttime, they would all of a sudden pop up and text me back. No, that's not how we doing things. That's not what I deserve. I don't have time for the mind games like that. And I feel like people play games like that so that they can make you so attached to the point where like you'll accept whatever they do. But like I'm here to let y'all know, like, there is nothing that anybody could do or say that would make me fall head over heels to the point where I'm just going to ignore every single thing that you do. And I'm gonna be honest with you. And like I said, I don't know if this is a toxic trait, but you got one time with me. You have one time to not message me for an entire day or an entire day or two, and then text me back like nothing's wrong and not even address it. Like, I know things get busy and like life is hectic. You know, sometimes you have a lot of things going on. I understand that, but don't you text me and not address that. Like, hey, I'm sorry, you know, I've just been super busy with work, you know, blah, 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 blah. How are you doing? Right? Not a, hey, what's up? What you doing? Can I come over? Can I see you? Right? So yeah, that was kind of long-winded, but as far as a healthy relationship is concerned, also guys, I'm using the Fenty Beauty bronzer in the color Mocha Mami. and I have my designated bronzer brush, and I'm just going around the same places that I contoured. But the first thing that I would say is important in any relationship that you have is listening. Like I said before, listening to understand, not listening to get your point across. You get nowhere when you do that. I have learned it for you. So if you've never been in a situation like that, now you freaking know. When you get into one, listen to your partner, hear them out, give them a chance to say their piece, and then you say what you got to say, and you prove your points and do whatever. But listen first. Listen first. A healthy relationship is very supportive. It's very supportive of one another. You don't want to be with somebody who doesn't believe in your dreams and your goals. You don't want to be with somebody who does not root you on. That is super important. So you want to make sure that you're on the same page with that before you actually like officially enter into the relationship, right? You already know what I'm about to say. Communication. That is my #1 thing. I did not realize, I got to put my bronzer down for this. I did not realize how difficult it was for people to empathize and communicate how they feel to people in general, and not even just speaking like in a relationship sense, but just in general. People don't know how to say how they feel, or if they do, they're scared to say how they feel, or they don't know. Like it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. So I think that any healthy relationship, whether it be a relationship with your boyfriend, your mom, your sister, brother, cousin, whoever, you got to know how to communicate. So if you got to start communicating, like if you got to start practicing by yourself, journaling, whatever, doing research, whatever you have to do before you enter into anything, it's not going to be healthy unless you know how to say how you feel. And then the last thing I would say would be probably just great like chemistry. Just in general chemistry is important, and you'll be able to feel that out when you're with somebody. You'll know. And then great sexual chemistry, you know what I'm saying, because that's super important, right? Like you want to be on the same page when it comes to that as well, because that's super important. As much as people like to pretend like it shouldn't be important and X, Y, and Z, it is. And I will save that conversation for another video, but just know it's important to have like general chemistry and sexual chemistry. Just saying. So I already know what palettes I'm gonna go into, I think. So I'm gonna of course go into my handy dandy James Charles palette. Mixed feelings about this palette. I love Morphe, but I don't know how I feel about James. Well, I do know, but I'm not gonna say that. But anyways, I'm probably gonna go in with something in between these two colors, because like I said, we're going for something natural, but I want to add like some orange undertones. So it'll probably be between these two, and maybe that one up there, maybe that one too. But I will let you guys know as I go and figure it out. And then I'm also gonna go in with my Juvia's Place the Zulu palette. And my favorite color in here is this brown. This orange is really pigmented too, so we might dip into a little bit of both. So to start with the eyes, I think I am going to do like my top is orange, so I think I'm gonna go with like maybe an orange like outer crease color, and then like a darker orangish brown in my crease is like my transition. And then I know for sure I'm going to take like a light concealer and then like pat it around my lid to create that soft like cut crease. Actually scratch that. We're going to do a soft glam with like I want to say a thick like orange glitter liner to go with the shirt, the aesthetic for this video. But I always say that if my liners never end up that thick because I have such a little eye space, so if I do a thick liner, it's gonna take up my whole lid. But anyways, so yes, let's go for that. Oh God, please. Maybe we're not doing anything because I just dropped all my glitter. Okay, so I was able to salvage some of the glitter. What I was trying to say was, this was the color of the glitter I was going to use, like this really bright orange. But I think that this softer like goldish orange is gonna go better with my outfit. So we're gonna do that. That's gonna be the color of the liner. I'm trying to figure out if I should just do the black liner and just put the glitter over it, or if I should do the white liner and just color it orange and then put the orange over it, which would of course take longer. I'm not feeling lazy, but I feel like it could look just as good if I use the black. So maybe we'll try that, and then just moving forward, if it doesn't work, we just won't, right? So okay guys, so for my blush, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. So of course I normally go in with my ABH blush palette, but today I'm going to be using a eyeshadow for my blush. So I don't have any like neutral or like brown blush palettes, so what I found is that my eyeshadows can sometimes work as a substitute. So I'm going to go in this same Juvia's palette and use this brown, this lighter brown, as my blush, and then go in probably with a little bit more of this darker bronzer underneath. And this goes well because it has like an orangish red type undertone, so it will go perfectly with the eye. See how pretty that goes together, period. Yes, of course I like to pack it on, so. And then I'm gonna go underneath with a little bit more bronzer. And boom, super pretty. Now let's get into these lips. The lips, I'm gonna do the same old combo. I'm gonna go in with my MAC lip pencil and my NYX lip stain. And this is just really my go-to, my everyday go-to. And because it's a lip stain, it ends up being a matte, but if you ever want to spice it up and make it a gloss, just add like a clear gloss on top. Boom. Okay, so we're in a really good spot. While I am putting on my lashes, we're going to get into this last question. So I would say, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself, but the first thing that I would say would be to work on your freaking self. Like, I don't know, maybe all of the questions that I came up with like go hand in hand, but like it's so important to put yourself first and work on you. Figure out what you like, what you want out of a relationship, what you want out of a partner, and what you want to give. Like, all of that is like super important, so that, like I said, when you get into a situation, you can state those things and make those very clear. There's no confusion because you already know. You've already done the work, right? So I think we make it harder on ourselves when we get into relationships when we haven't done the work. Whereas when you've already done it, it's easy, simple. If you make it clear what you want and they can't give it to you or choose not to, it's a clear stay or go. It's a clear, okay, we're together or we're not. You can't give me what I need, so what are we doing, right? So I think that would be the first thing that I would say. The second thing would be, I don't think that it's bad to be intentional with your search. So meaning, like, you know, putting yourself out there. So like being on different sites or going out to the club specifically to meet somebody, although the club is not the best place to meet somebody. If you want to meet somebody, I suggest going to places that you would normally go so that you can meet like-minded people. So if you love pottery, if you love to paint, if you love to skate, if you love to, those kinds of things, because the club is just, it's not the greatest environment. It's loud, people are drunk, a lot of things going on. So like, try not to do that. But I would say that I've always had the best luck whenever I was in the process of like focusing on me and figuring out myself, right? Because when you're investing and pouring into yourself, you become your best self, right? And so when you're out, people can see that and they can feel that. And I think that's most attractive to people. That's when you're at your most attractive, when you're solely focusing on you and doing your thing, right? The next thing I would say, and this is super important, like when dating, be your freaking self. Like, and I know that's simple and it might sound like a duh to most people, right? It might sound really obvious, but like a lot of people are on social media pretending to be something or someone that they're. Sorry, it's late. My best friend was cooking some burgers. Oh Lord. I'm starving, so I had to take a second to chow down. But anyways, but yes, nowadays people are pretending to be people and things that they're not, and it's like, okay, sis, you can do that, but like you have to like keep that up. You have to keep that image up and you have to uphold that. So it's like, why make things harder for yourself? Definitely just be yourself, because you want somebody who's going to love you for you. You know what I mean? Through and through. And then my last piece of advice would just be to literally go into your next situation. If you decide to, go into it with an open mind and an open heart and just the want to love and give yourself to somebody. Do not do what I did and kind of give yourself to somebody, but then also, you know, have all of these reservations in the back of your mind, because it's really going to drive you crazy and it's going to cause a lot of issues in your relationship. Be you and give your all and try and make it the healthiest that you can make it. And if you can't, if you can't be yourself, if you can't give your all, if you have to pretend like, you know, you're this or that to be with somebody, chances are it's not going to work out and it wasn't meant to be. And you probably just really don't need to be with that person. But yes, this is what we came up with. I'm about to change my shirt and I will be right back. So this is the final look. I'm really happy with how it came out. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. If you have not subscribed, please join our family, join our little community, hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if the video was helpful. Also leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. Like I said in the beginning too, if you guys have any other questions that you want me to talk about or address, I will definitely do that in a future video as long as you leave me a comment. But yes, let me know what you thought about today's topic. Let me know some other suggestions about what I should talk about in the future.